What's the best TV show ever made? Okay, what's the best 10 TV shows ever made? Does that make it easier? Not really. Well, it's a question that we would all probably like to be able to answer, but it's not easy. Luckily, someone has gone and made a list of the top 10 for us, and it involves millions of users over a long period of time. So we're going to take a look at that top 10 and ask ourselves, are these the best TV shows ever made? Hello and welcome to Screen OD. If you're new to the channel, my name is Tim and I am an editor and a journalist who's been writing about TV, movies and entertainment for almost 15 years. Yeah, I know it makes me feel old. If you're not new and you're a returning visitor, hello again. It's great to have you with us. Thanks for joining us, and I'm sure we're going to have a great time today as we look at some of the best TV shows ever made. As I said at the beginning, this is a list that has been made by users of the IMDB, and so thousands and thousands of votes have been collected over a period of time to make a top 10. Now, the question is, are they the best 10 TV shows of all time? Well, we're going to have to take a look, and you can make your own mind up as we go through the list. Put in the comments below, what are your favourite TV shows of all time? What you think are the best ever made? And we can discuss them as a community. A quick reminder, if you love TV and movies and you haven't already subscribed, then subscribing to the channel means you'll get all the best content direct to your feed. And of course, if you like what you see, please hit the like button and help others discover content like this across the internet. Right, let's start the countdown from the IMDb users at number 10. And they've started with a very good program. One of my favourites, in fact. It's The Sopranos.
Marriage, or any partnership for that matter, is a give and a take.
We are a family, so we're gonna deal with this as a family.
Now, I don't think anyone's really going to be arguing that The Sopranos shouldn't be up there on this list. Perhaps you would argue that it should be higher. It is one of the great box sets of all time, and in many ways was one of the kind of godfathers of box set culture. When it came along, there hadn't been many shows before that people wanted to sit down and consume and binge, and it had this great arc of a story led by an amazing cast, brilliant storytelling, almost cinematic style brought to the small screen, and it was led, of course, by the late, great James Gandolfini, who plays Tony Soprano, who is a mobster who is in therapy, and we hear about his life and his work and everything that surrounds it. It's about his paranoia, it's about his anxiety, and it's about his impact on the world. This is a brilliant piece of storytelling from David Chase, and it's one of those programs that you have to watch to the end. And one of the reasons you need to watch it to the end is because if you look up there, you'll see we've got a video of the best TV endings, and The Sopranos is in there. Bit of a spoiler, but you know, it's worth going and watching it and finding out what else is on that list. So I don't think anyone's going to argue with The Sopranos being on the list. I guess the only question is, should it be higher up? Number 9 on the list is Cosmos: A Space-Time Odyssey, which is a US scientific documentary that is fronted by Neil deGrasse Tyson, who in turn was inspired by the original Cosmos show that was presented by Carl Sagan. This is clearly a really important piece of documentary scientific filmmaking, and it's taken a way of explaining things to an entertaining level for tens, if not hundreds of millions of people across the world. It's exec produced by Seth MacFarlane, it has a soundtrack by Alan Silvestri, and it's a show that has brought wonder to people across the globe. Number 8 is the only animation that we have on the list, and perhaps a show that some of you may not be expecting. It's Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is a program that has received huge critical and public acclaim on almost every level, from its anime style animations, from its direction, its soundtrack, down to the stories and the themes that it deals with throughout. Some quite hard-hitting stuff in there, like totalitarianism and genocide and humanitarian issues, something that normally aren't touched upon in a program that's designed for a younger audience. And that's why I think it's been voted so highly by the people who have done so on the IMDb list. At number 7 on the list is the first of several natural history documentaries from the same mould, and you'll see what I mean as we go along on this list. We have the 2017 BBC series Blue Planet 2, which is a David Attenborough fronted series about, as you may have guessed from the Blue Planet title, about things and creatures that live in the sea. This is a beautiful 7-part exploration of the globe. It has a soundtrack that is composed primarily by Hans Zimmer, and there's even a collaboration on it with Radiohead and Hans Zimmer, which is something for the rock fans out there. These types of shows are hugely, immensely popular with audiences across the globe, as we can see from its place on this list. And it feels right to have shows like this on the list because people do absolutely love them. At number 6, we have another of the great HBO box sets. And if you like HBO shows, you might want to check out up there the best HBO shows of all time. It's a video that does include The Wire as well as The Sopranos. And The Wire is the show that's in at 6. This is, again, one of those shows that has become a really important part of box set culture. It's a show that everyone wants to binge, and it's a show that everyone should probably have seen. It tells the story of the cops in Baltimore fighting illegal drug trades and homicide and all of the things that go with it. It made absolute big stars of people like Dominic West and Idris Elba, and it's a show that's from David Simon, who is a former crime reporter in Baltimore. So it's a show that's rooted in lots of knowledge, and that comes through in the beautifully crafted scripts and the amazing way that the show is put together.
All of the good we did, it doesn't matter. What does matter is that to them, justice was done. See, a just world is a sane world. There was nothing sane about Chernobyl.
At number 5, we have an incredibly moving, dramatic and poignant series in Chernobyl, which was a co-production between HBO in the US and Sky TV in the UK. This is a breathtakingly good drama that won over the hearts of everyone who saw it from the moment that it was aired in 2019. It tells the story of what happened on that fateful night in Chernobyl in 1986 when the nuclear reactor went into meltdown. It tells the story of the people who first responded to that disaster and the politics that went on behind the scenes in the aftermath of it as the world began to understand what was going on. This is brilliantly constructed, beautifully executed, and a fantastic piece of television on every level. And I don't think anyone's going to argue that it should be somewhere very close to the top of the list of the best shows. At 4, we have yet another HBO drama. So that, again, that's up there in the best HBO shows ever made. But this one is truly spectacular in both its scale and its storytelling. It was created by what you could only describe as a dream team of Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks, who of course worked together on Saving Private Ryan, and I think that's where quite a lot of the inspiration to do this came from. And it tells the story of Easy Company, who are a parachute regiment who are from the US, and it's about their training and then their involvement in the Second World War. It's a fantastic show which takes you on 10 parts on a roller coaster journey through some incredibly difficult times for some incredibly brave and brilliant people. It's rooted, a lot of it, in real accounts of real soldiers who went through these real things, which makes it even more breathtaking, even more difficult sometimes to understand. But it's such a good show, and I don't think that, again, people would argue that this should be anywhere except very near the top of the best shows of all time list. At number 3 on our list is another hit from the BBC Natural History Unit and another hit from David Attenborough, Because We've Got Planet Earth, which was the 2006 documentary that in many ways changed everything in this style of documentary making. It was the first to be filmed by the BBC in high definition. Now you've got to remember, at this time most people were watching TV in much lower quality than they are today. So this was filmed in HD and people started getting HD TVs not long after. So they started to see the world in even more vibrant colour. They started to see things in more detail, and that just brought what was already a brilliant type of filmmaking to life on a new level. And I think that's why this show is so well loved and so well remembered, even though we are getting on for 15, 20 years since it was made.
I am not in danger, Skylar. I am the danger. A guy opens his door and gets shot, and you think that of me? No. I am the one who knocks.
And number 2 on our list is Breaking Bad, and I think until not that long ago it was number 1 on the IMDb list, but it has been beaten by something else which we'll find out about in a moment. It is of course one of the great dramas, and anyone who's seen it would probably think it should be there or thereabouts in any list like this. It tells the story of Walter White. He's a high school chemistry teacher who is diagnosed with terminal lung cancer. He has a young child, he has an older child who has a disability, and he has a wife to look after. He thinks, what am I going to do? He decides he's going to get into business with his former pupil, Jesse Pinkman, and they are going to start cooking crystal meth and selling it. Things spiral pretty quickly out of control and he becomes a drug kingpin. Now, I'm not going to tell you anything else that happens in it in case you haven't seen it, but it's a brilliant piece of television set in the dusty, murky world of the Albuquerque desert, and you will fall in love with this show when you start watching it, and it's one of the great anti-hero performances that you'll ever see from Bryan Cranston as Walter White, a character who you really shouldn't root for because he's not a good man at all, but somehow you just have to keep seeing what he's going to do next. And this is a show that very much has earned its place on this list. It's just a matter of should it have been number 1. And so here we are, we're at number 1, and just before we reveal it, a quick reminder, if you're enjoying what you're seeing, please do subscribe to the channel. Yeah, number 1 on the list probably isn't going to be a massive surprise to you, especially if you've been watching all the way through, but if you've been skipping, you might have missed some of them. This is a show from the BBC. It's a show voiced by David Attenborough. It is Planet Earth 2 from 2016. Now, at number 3, we had Planet Earth, and this is the sequel 10 years later. A bigger, a better, a more exciting journey around our planet to understand the ecosystems, to understand the animals, and to understand our impact on it. This is a fantastic piece of filmmaking. I guess the only thing we need to ask is, do all of these shows need to have separate entries in the top 10 best shows of all time, or should we have made a little bit more room for a few more dramas or a few more sci-fis or a few more other types of telly, because we've got a lot of documentaries on this list. Now, I think what we've learned is people like these types of shows, and you can tell that because TV people are always making more of them. Not just the BBC, but there are tons of natural history documentaries being made all the time because people love looking at the planet around them through the lens of their television. So that's our top 10 shows according to the voters on the IMDB. Do you agree with this top 10? Is this the top 10 you would have made? Is this the number 1 show for you? Is this the best show that's ever been made? Well, we'd love to know, so put in the comments below, what are your favourite TV shows of all time? What do you think are the best, the most crafted, the most well put together television shows of the last 100 years of people making television? Not quite 100 years, but almost 100 years of people making television. Why don't you put them in the comments and we can discuss it as a community. Thanks so much for watching the video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you again very soon.